What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we are bringing you guys our Clemson preview and prediction for the upcoming 2025 season. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach 11,000 subs by the end of August. Check out the description for the link to our shop, podcast, and our website. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started with today's video. So the Tigers coming off a solid 2024 season. Started out the year very poorly last year with a blowout loss against Georgia. Kind of bounced back, had their ups and downs through the season, dropped one at home to Louisville, and then later in the year to South Carolina at home. But we're still able to sneak into the ACC championship game as Syracuse beat Miami on the last week of the season. Clemson then beat SMU. We're blowing them out in the first half of the ACC championship. SMU comes back. Clemson ends up hanging on, but with a game-winning field goal in the ACC championship to make the playoff, where they matched up against Texas in the first round. Didn't play terrible. The game was definitely closer than the scoreboard showed, but weren't able to get the win. But a good, solid season to bounce back, find their way back into the college football playoff. And now, when you look at them coming into this year, they returned probably the best quarterback in the country. As far as returning quarterbacks goes, obviously Klubnik might not end up being the best quarterback in the country at the end of the year, but when you look at last year and guys coming back, he's either one or two. The other guy is actually Garrett Nussmeier for LSU, so those two will actually face off week one. You look at Clemson; they have the best returning offense for sure. Defense, they got some dudes on the defensive line: T.J. Parker, Peter Woods. Got the transfer Will Helt in there. Linebacker Sammy Brown, freshman All-American, looking to um, to improve his draft stock after a great freshman season heading into his sophomore year. And then along with Wade Woodaz coming back, veteran at the linebacker position. And you look in the secondary, obviously headlined by Avion Terrell, younger brother of former Clemson Tiger and NFL star AJ Terrell. So the Tigers, they've got some good pieces. I know PFF had them ranked, I believe they were the first return in offense and the third return in defense in the country. So a lot of high expectations for the Tigers. I believe they are ranked seventh in the AP poll. I believe was it seventh? Might have been third. I believe it's seventh though. So a lot of high expectations for the Tigers. Definitely, this team should make the playoffs again if they live up to expectations. So let's go ahead and jump in with the video and start picking these games. So week one, like I said, they get LSU at home. I have this game as a win for Clemson. When I look at this game, I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think both of these teams are really good. Obviously, like I said, both of them returning the quarterbacks. The problem for me in this game for LSU is I think that defensively, I trust Clemson's defense to be able to get stops late in this game more than I trust LSU's. On top of that, it's a home game for Clemson, so that gives them a slight advantage as well. Playing at home as opposed to on the road. But this is going to be a fun one. Already a lot of jabs going back and forth with Brian Kelly and T.J. Parker and all the fans over who's the real Death Valley, that kind of stuff. So it'll be a fun one to watch. These two teams last played in 2019 in the national championship. LSU getting the win in that one. Um, but yeah, so when you look at this game, I just think Clemson is going to be able to out physical LSU. I think that I trust Clemson's defense to get stops late in the game more than I trust LSU's defense. I think both of these two offenses in this game are going to be really good. I think it'll be a little bit of a higher scoring game, but I do think these defenses will settle in the second half, and scoring will be a little bit more difficult. But I have Clemson winning this one 31-21. I think it'll be a solid win for the Tigers, a great start to the season for them, and a game that they can really use to boost their confidence for the rest of the year. Coming up in week two, they get Troy. I like this game. You just played a big game at home. Now you get a smaller team to come in at home, but a team that can still challenge you in some ways. But this is where you're going to work those kinks out in your offense. Get some of those guys. that are gonna play this year but aren't gonna start, get them some good snaps early in games, and get them some playing time here. So I think Clemson's gonna roll to a win in this one. I have them winning at 52-10. I just think the Tigers are gonna come in and blow out Troy. I wouldn't. I don't think anybody else would expect much different. Then week 3, you got another kind of difficult game going on the road to Georgia Tech. This will be one of those games we saw last year. Running quarterbacks destroyed Clemson. You look at what Lenore Sellers did to him in that South Carolina game. There was at least 3 times where you thought for sure, okay, he just got sacked for a loss of 10, and all of a sudden here he comes running through the line of scrimmage, through out of the pile, and he's going 20 yards down the field for a touchdown. As you know, I think personally that was the game that got Wes Goodwin fired. But when you look here, Haynes King, running quarterback. But I think Clemson's defense is going to be a lot more prepared for running quarterbacks, this year. Um, a lot better this year under the new head coaching staff or excuse me, the new defensive coaching staff with Tom Allen as coming in as defensive coordinator from Penn State, former Indiana head coach as well. I think he's going to be a big difference to this defense. You look at the talent Clemson already has on that defense, and then you throw an elite defensive coordinator in there. I think this could be back to some of those Brent Venable defenses for sure. I think Clemson gets the win here on the road in Atlanta at Bobby Dodd. I have them winning at 27-13. I just don't see Georgia Tech's defense being able to do a whole lot. Next up, another home game. You get Syracuse at home. This is going to be a good game. Fran Brown did us a favor last year, knocking off Miami, getting Clemson in the ACC championship. Him and Dabo seem to have a pretty good relationship. I'm sure this is one they're both kind of looking forward to. Um, as they seem to be pretty good buddies. I think Fran Brown has the Syracuse program going in the right direction. But I do think they will lose this game. I worry about them with some of the pieces that they lost last year, particularly Kyle McCord at quarterback. Not having him, what will Fran Brown do without him? That is what I'm curious to see with the Syracuse offense. I still think Syracuse will be a decent team, could potentially get into the top 25 at the end of the year. But I don't think they'll beat Clemson. Now, as a Clemson fan, you always get nervous whenever Syracuse is on the schedule, is up next, because had some run-ins with them for sure. Up in up at Syracuse, 2017, you lose that game. Kelly Bryant gets knocked out of the game. You lose up there. Then down here and down in Clemson in 2018, Trevor Lawrence in like the first quarter running down the sideline gets hit, a concussion. He's out for the game. Chase Bryce has to come in, and we claw our way back. Travis Etienne, a late go-ahead touchdown to seal that one, and a huge fourth down throw from Chase Bryce. And then obviously with DJ that year, beat them 10-3. So there's been some close games, some good competition with Syracuse throughout the years, but I see it differently in this one. I think Clemson's going to win this one 41-20. I just think the Tigers roll in this one and they get the win over Fran Brown and the Syracuse Orange. Next up, you go on the road to North Carolina. This will be Bill Belichick's first season as the Tar Heels head coach. I think Clemson gets the win there. I just don't think North Carolina is a very good football team. I don't think they have a lot offensively. I'm not buying all the hype of North Carolina to the ACC championship this year. I think they could get there under Belichick, but it definitely is not going to be week one. I still think the defense is a big problem when you look at what Mac Brown left them. Obviously, Belichick, a defensive genius. You see what he did throughout his time with the Patriots. Tom Brady consistently had top 10 defenses in the league. But I just don't think North Carolina has the talent to be able to do that. I think they will be improved from last year, but how much we'll have to see. I'm not so sure on. So I think Clemson rolls in this one. I have them winning 38-13. I just think this defense for the Tigers is going to be elite. I see North Carolina having a hard time moving the football, and I think the Tigers' offense is going to roll in this game. Then you go on the road to Boston College. Again, this is another game I have as a big win. You lose your quarterback from last year, and Thomas Castellanos. He was good, but then not really sure what all went on. He ended up getting benched. Then he transferred. Um, so I don't really know what the whole deal was there. Bill O'Brien. So that's pretty cool. In back-to-back weeks, you play two former NFL head coaches. with Belichick and Bill O'Brien, two guys who actually worked for Bill O'Brien worked for under Belichick for a little bit as well. But I think that when you look at this Boston College game, I just don't think Boston College has the talent to really do anything against Clemson. I think they're going to have a horrible day offensively, and I think Clemson's offense is going to light the BC defense up. I have the Tigers winning this one 48-7. I think it's going to be a blowout game in Chestnut Hill, and the Tigers should win easily. Next up, they get SMU at home. I have this game as a win for the Tigers. They beat them last year in the ACC championship game. Now SMU has to come home or to Clemson's home stadium, Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, and I think that it's going to be a pretty solid game. But I do think the Tigers will pull away and win by I'd say probably around 2 touchdowns. I think that Kevin Jennings and this SMU offense is gonna be looking for some revenge. I think they'll have some success, but I'm not sure how much. So I have the Tigers winning this one 31-17. I just think that SMU is gonna have a hard time, especially coming to Memorial Stadium. It'll be tough for them. Next up, you get Duke at home. This will be another solid game. Manny Diaz, the head coach of Duke, he's got them not where Mike Elko left them. He hasn't played up to that, but obviously kind of hard when Riley Leonard also takes off with him. But Duke still in a solid spot. Manny Diaz did a pretty good job with them last year. They're going to have a solid defense. Offensively, we'll see what they get out of Malik Murphy this year in his second year with Duke to transfer from Texas. I think that this could potentially be something of a game, but I do have Clemson winning this one and winning it pretty easily. I have them winning this one 34-20. I just think that Duke is not going to be able to keep up with the Tigers offensively because Clemson this year they're back to that what we used to seeing out of them in the wide receiver room from like 2012 to 2018, 2019 with those wide receivers being one of the best rooms in college football. When you look at that, they 100% have it. They have the number one wide receiver prospect for the upcoming draft in Antonio Williams, and then two sophomores building off incredible freshman years in Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. You also bring in the transfer 6'4" deep ball threat and Tristan Moore. Tyler Brown will be back from injury, so that wide receiver room for the Tigers is very deep this year. I expect a lot out of them, and I think that Duke will have a hard time with them. Next up, you get Florida State at home. Florida State coming off a historically bad season, 2-10. I have the Tigers winning this game. I think Florida State will be a little bit better this year, but I still think they're like a 5-6 win team. I think they'll be scrapping for bowl eligibility. I think the Tigers get the win here. And I think they handle business pretty easily. I have them winning 45-10. I just don't see this Florida State offense being much of competition for the Tigers defense, and don't know what Norvell's got planned up to try to stop Clemson because I just don't see it working out for Florida State. I think they're going to get blown out week 1 by Alabama too. Um, yeah. Then next up, Clemson goes on the road to Louisville, and this is also a Friday night game. This is one that worries me a little bit here. Clemson coming off, I guess both of them coming off a shorter week, but it's always a tough environment when you go to Louisville and these two teams are good. We see the great games Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson had back in 2016 and 2015, and now you're going on the road to Louisville again. It's going to be probably a blackout. They bring in a pretty good quarterback from USC transfer, Miller Moss, coming in, and we saw what Jeff Brom did with Tyler Shue last year. So incredible job by him. I think that Louisville is going to be another very good team this year. They beat Clemson at Clemson last year, but I think the Tigers will get the win and squeeze it out here on the road at Louisville. I have Clemson winning 27-24. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for the Tigers to win, a very hard fought game, similar, like I said, to those 2015, 2016 games versus Lamar Jackson up there. So I think it'll be a fun one. But I have the Tigers winning 27-24. This is one that worries me a lot, though, as a Clemson fan. I think this is one of 3 potential games they could lose. This one, LSU and South Carolina. But I have them winning this one over Louisville. Then you get Furman. right before the rivalry game. A good game to have to kind of recover from a tough game against Louisville and prepare for a tough game on the road at South Carolina. Um, so obviously Clemson's going to blow them out. Not much discussion needed on that one. Then to close off the year, you go on the road to South Carolina. This is going to be another tough game. They beat you on your field 17-14 last year. Clemson beat them the year before in Columbia. Carolina won in Clemson 3 years ago. 4 years ago, Clemson beat them on the road in Columbia. So that's kind of the way the rivalry's been going back and forth the last 4 years. Is back and forth with the away team winning. I think that continues this year. I think the Tigers get the win against South Carolina. I think South Carolina is going to be somewhat beat up. They got a pretty tough schedule this year. I think they'll be somewhat beat up towards the end of the year. Now this could be a huge game because obviously I think Clemson will be in the ACC championship, so not so much for them. But I think this could be a game. South Carolina could potentially find themselves in a spot at the end of the year where they need a win. If they with a win over Clemson, they're in the playoff. With a loss, they're in a regular bowl game. I think that's a legitimate position South Carolina could find themselves in at the end of the year. Um, but I think that Clemson's able to find a way to get the win. I think it'll be a tough one. I have them winning at 31-24. I think this South Carolina team, when you look at them last year, they had a lot of freak plays. Like I said, with Sellers busting out of the tackles and just breaking through for 40-yard runs down the field. I think that'll be fixed. I don't think there'll be holes like that in Clemson's defense this year under Tom Allen. Now, give Lenore Sellers some credit on that as well. He's a great runner. I think he's still going to make plays on the ground and through the air because that's what great players do, and he's one of them. But I think it'll be a heck of a fight. But I do have Clemson pulling out the win over South Carolina in a tough one. But that's going to wrap up today's video. Got the Tigers going 12-0 on the season back in the ACC championship. I think this team should realistically be a top 4 seed in the college football playoff this year if they play up to what they're capable of. Dabo Sweeney said earlier, that hey, his Tigers were the first 15-0 team. Why not be the first 16-0 team this year? It's definitely a possibility. Tigers got a good team, one of the best in college football. But yeah, so that wraps up today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment all those thoughts and opinions down below, and we will see you guys next time.